our mission today, unpack Sentry, the whole Void situation still being active, and what that signals for the MCU.
And you know, it's interesting. Thunderbolts itself got a pretty warm reception, didn't it? People seem to feel it was a solid movie.
Right. Not just another theme park ride, as some have maybe felt about other releases. It had pacing, tone, felt more traditional in a good way.
A bit of a surprise success, maybe? But yeah, the balance felt right.
And a huge part of that, I think, was the choice with Sentry. He survives. And the Void. Still there.
Definitely. That new Rockstars chat really nailed it, framing it as, a realistic take on mental health. It's not something you just cure.
No, it's ongoing, a constant struggle. We really liked that they didn't just wipe the slate clean. It felt more mature.
And think about the implications for the wider MCU, Sentry, with the Void intact on a team like the Thunderbolts.
Oh, yeah. Big tension potential there. You've got Sam Wilson's Avengers, kind of the public face.
Right, the more sanctioned team. And then the Thunderbolts with their histories.
Yeah.
And Sentry, unpredictable.
Very unpredictable. And that whole memory loss thing adds another layer, doesn't it? Bob just blanks out when the Void's in control.
It's fascinating. Is it trauma? Is the Void actively, suppressing his memories? That theory is compelling.
Kind of echoes those old comic debates, right? Was it schizophrenia or was the Void this separate entity?
Well, the MCU seems to be leaning towards trauma, maybe rooted in childhood stuff Bob witnessed. That's a bit different from the comics sometimes.
Yeah, less primordial cosmic evil, perhaps. More internal.
Seems that way, which is interesting when you contrast it even briefly with Yelena's line about feeling a void.
Right, the discussion there was maybe that's more universal, regret maybe, but not necessarily clinical depression across the board. Views differed on that.
But the core idea of the void is this: numbness, beyond shame, beyond feeling. That's powerful.
Especially with Bob wanting to do good, but the Void causing such psychological harm. It's a paradox.
So, Avengers Doomsday, what's Sentry going to be? Is he the psychological threat or, the physical one?
Ripping people in half. That line came up early on.
Well, the Thunderbolts director, Jake Schreier, talked about planting stones or pebbles for Doomsday. Hints at Sentry's impact, surely.
And Lewis Pullman's comments, too. Calling Sentry full of heart but complex. A physicalization of different shades of our personality.
Yeah, Pullman mentioned wanting a scene with Thor, which makes sense.
Because Sentry basically asks in Thunderbolts, why aren't I a god if I'm stronger than them? Stronger than Thor, even.
So, could we see him physically take down heavy hitters? Hercules was speculated on, maybe referencing that very graphic Ares moment from the comics.
Yeah, that ripping in half image is intense. We've seen similar things elsewhere. It's brutal.
But don't discount the psychological angle. Who's most vulnerable? Maybe Wanda.
Or Moon Knight. Given his own complexities, his trauma.
Ooh, Moon Knight versus the Void. That's interesting. Khonshu's a god, right?
Yeah.
Deals with darkness, light.
And the Void's look in Thunderbolts, the flattened shadows, the speed, never in profile, like an eclipse.
Like shadow is an obstruction of light. That could be a direct counter, visually and maybe thematically, to Khonshu. Very cool idea.
So a god fight seems pretty likely then. Maybe Thor, like Pullman hoped for.
It sets up a really compelling dynamic, doesn't it? Power versus power, God versus whatever Sentry is.
Okay, so let's recap quickly. Sentry. Huge power, the Void, always lurking, fragmented memory, threat level off the charts physically and psychologically. Complex is an understatement.
Which leads us back to you. Thinking about how the MCU